What's up guys, Spin Firearms here, and today we're going to be talking about the Kimber Mako R7. Now this is one of the most requested handguns on the channel, regardless of Kimber's previous issues. Now obviously this is not a 1911 style pistol. This is their first stack and a half Micro 9 offering that's a polymer striker fired pistol. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it, both good and bad. Now this model right here came with the Crimson Trace optic, as you can see, and the only reason I got it with this optic is because they were offering it for $500 or $499 out the door with the optic, and that's the price most places without the optic. So I just said, sure, why not? Now, there's a couple other better deals out there that I did not find, but a lot of people let me know about. So it is what it is. $500 out the door is fine with me for this handgun. Now, the optic obviously isn't the greatest. I'm actually going to be taking it off today and swapping it out with a Sealy Cat X Pro, one of my favorite optics, or the Wolf X Pro. Not 100% sure yet. But what is the Kimber Mako R7? This right here is very similar in size to like a Canik Meta MC9, right? It's one of those Micro 9s that's larger than the rest. It's bigger than the P365. It's bigger than the Hellcat, bigger than the Stoeger Micro Compact, bigger than the Ruger Max 9, and so on. So it's one of those handguns that's still very easy to conceal. You can still get more purchase on it compared to the other thinner Micro 9s as well, so it feels better in your hand, giving you a better grip on it for better shooting and so on. And it just offers better shootability and less recoil than the other smaller Micro 9s. But the one thing that is sort of like an overshadowing aspect to it is this right here, that it says Kimber. Kimbers have been known for problems, right? They've also been known for spotty customer service, which to me, stuff goes wrong with everything. Doesn't matter what it is. All products fail, go bad, and so on, right? You have issues at some point. It's all about how the company fixes it. And I've actually heard not so great things about Kimber, but who knows? That's just, you know, an account from one person that I talked to. But this right here, I haven't heard too many issues about. The Kimber Mako R7 did have a recall at first because they were saying that it was letting multiple rounds go each time you pull that trigger, which is a big deal. You know, I mean, imagine buying your first handgun if that's what you chose, and you go to the range and brrr, like that'd be absolutely crazy. But at the same time, sort of a blessing. Anyways, the Kimber Mako R7, I finally got it to take it out this week. And we took it out. We were on 40 acres just shooting around, and we were shooting thousands and thousands of rounds. So I brought this out. Now, I was wearing my concealed carry hoodie that has a hole in the pouch where you put your hands. And unfortunately, I dropped the tool in order to sight this in. So I got it partially sighted in, not completely sighted in, and lost the tool. Because I always forget when I'm wearing that hoodie that you can't put stuff in that little compartment in the front. But anyways, did it run? Was it reliable? And how did it feel to shoot? Let's just go over a couple things, right? Right here is 13+1 capacity with this mag, and it's still relatively short this way. It's 11+1 with the flush mag, which is probably how I would carry it. I'm actually very impressed by the finish on the Kimber. I know a lot of their products have a great finish, so I wouldn't expect anything other than that, and they definitely delivered with the finish. This is my type of finish on a carry gun. I can't stand when I look at my Ruger and it's just destroyed. I can't stand when I look at my Taurus GX4 that I don't even carry, and the finish is just destroyed. So having a nice finish is definitely big to me. That's one of the things that I like. On top of that, great serrations, nothing special. You will realize that the ejection port is on the right side and it is not partially open up top. That's because it uses a different locking mechanism with that barrel and so on. And a lot of people were wondering, will that affect reliability, which we're going to touch on, right? The sights are a big benefit of this handgun. They come with an awesome sight picture for co-witnessing, and especially when that dot goes out, you have a great sight picture, right? For the sights, you have two white outlines and a U-notch rear, tritium of course, and then the front is that big, nice orange dot, that's tritium as well, and that tritium lights up that orange a little bit in the dark. These are true glow sights, and I think that was a great choice by Kimber, 100%, right? Now they have a proprietary rail on here. I'm not sure what lights fit it. I'm not putting a light on it. Even if I were to carry it, I use a handheld or my Hellcat with a TLR7 sub on it, right? A lot of positives about this handgun. But one thing I will say is the dots are... The Crimson Trace is not a great optic. I know, you know, it's affordable and stuff like that, but there are better affordable options out there like Sealy. So that's probably one of the negatives I would say about this handgun is this dot. It's a little blurry. And on top of that, sighting it in was a little more difficult. And like I said, I did lose my tool, but at the same time, shouldn't have been that difficult to get, shots where needed, where they needed to go basically. But shooting it, very minimal recoil. Basically no recoil in this handgun. This is smooth. It's like shooting a Glock 26. It has way less recoil than the Canik Meta MC9. Whatever they did to this handgun, they made it with very, very little recoil. And my whole shooting review will come up soon. I will be uploading it this week or next week of me shooting this handgun. We got over 250 rounds through it. We shot a lot. We loaded a lot. And I just went off on my own for a little bit, and on top of that, we filmed that shooting review, and we got some rounds through it. 250 rounds, not a single hiccup. While shooting, though, what I realized is, obviously this handgun's clear. I absolutely loved the way they designed this handgun, right? There is nothing for snagging, nothing to accidentally touch to cause malfunctions. For instance, when you're shooting, there's no way to accidentally lock the slide back, or accidentally push up on it, causing your slide to slow down, causing a malfunction, failure to feed, whatever the case may be, failure to eject. It's just a perfect spot. I absolutely love. Now, I will say it does take a little bit of time getting used to the spot it's in and how flush it is. If you see, it goes completely flush. Absolutely love that. On top of that, mag release is in a great spot, and it's ambidextrous, right? Ambidextrous Micro 9 offering is huge for people, especially left-handed people. But it's in a great spot. You're not going to accidentally eject your mag. So I absolutely love that. The texturing was perfect. No grips needed for this. No money needed to be spent on the Kimbers grip. It feels so perfect, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park with that texturing. Another benefit to this handgun that definitely helped when it came to shooting. Look at the frame for a second, right? Notice something. You see that little bulge right here? And that little bulge right here, if you know me, I like Glock 26s, Glock 27s, stuff like that. Subcompacts that tend to be thicker. This is a Micro 9 that they sort of just, punched out a little bit. They made it a little more rounded to fit your hand a little better. A lot of the complaints about the P365 and Hellcat is there's just not enough to hold on to, which I can agree. It feels like something's missing. This, you basically get 2.5 fingers on with this 13+1 setup, which feels really good in the hand and just on point. And you wouldn't think so, but these make a big difference. On top of that, the shape of the overall frame really fills that palm swell well. Now, it doesn't fill as much as I'd like it, but honestly, it feels pretty dang good in the hand. Even with that flush mag and wrapping the pinky underneath to shoot. Works really well. Like I said, not as a little bit more snappy than the Glock 26, but definitely way less snappy than the Hellcat, less snappier than the P365, less snappier than basically every other Micro 9, even the Canik Meta MC9. And I shoot this better than the MC9. The MC9 is a great trigger, but it's also a little bit weird, and also a very small trigger guard. So if you got fat fingers, you have a hard time, getting on that trigger. But not the biggest deal. But let's go into that trigger, because this is where the handgun really shines. Honestly, I wasn't hitting the way I wanted to. But on top of that, part of that had to do with the dot, the circumstances, the fact we loaded so many rounds. It was cold as can be out there. We trekked 4 miles just bringing gear in, that whole sort of thing. But one major benefit of this handgun is that trigger. It's basically like a Glock trigger, but at the same time, it is much cleaner, crisper, and lighter. It's a little spongy, but it's crisp and clean with that break. Much shorter. Reset is really nice. And I did not have a single malfunction with this handgun. Now, I'm going to be putting it through its paces. I hope I'm getting it to about 1,000 rounds within the next month. That is my goal. But like I said, if this thing continues to hold up and can prove itself to me, I might do a little bit of preventative maintenance on it and then start carrying this thing. Because honestly, it's a winner. I don't care what people say. They say Kimber, has issues, blah, blah, blah. But if this handgun right here can run thousands of rounds, no problem, it's a great option. And that tends to mean it's going to be a reliable handgun. Didn't get to run any hollows out of it this weekend, so like I said, we will not start carrying it yet. But if this thing continues to be reliable, I'm going to carry it. I have no reason not to, just based off a brand name alone. It has to be proven to me that this handgun itself has issues. And about 250, 300 rounds, not a single problem. And the thing's on point. When I do dry fire practice using a bullet, laser bullet, or I think it's called an eye bullet at home, I'm hitting everything. Every time, doesn't matter how I'm holding it, one-handed, and that really translates over to the actual range itself. But I think this size handgun is about perfect because we got really small with the Micro 9s, and those become harder for people to shoot. And we went away from the subcompacts because those are outdated and obsolete. But then we came back to something that's basically a mixture of the two. And I think that Kimber did a really, really nice job with this handgun all around. I'm very Very happy with this purchase, and like I said, I'm going to be swapping out that dot. I might even take the dot off because those sights are just great, and I'm not going to be sitting here in a self-defense encounter like, okay, let me line up my dot. No, it's going to be from the hip, it's going to be from the chest, from the draw. It's going to be up close and personal, quick, and letting shots go. You're rarely ever going to get the chance to just, get a full extension and use those sights. It is what it is. I like the Kimber Mako R7, and if you haven't realized over here on this channel, I don't care what people say about my carry choices. I carry a Glock 26, a Hellcat, a Shield Plus, an M&P 40C. I carry some handguns that are 30 years old, and I love them. It is what it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.